So far this month, I've shown off Absolute Swamp Thing by Ween and Wrightson, Absolute Swamp Thing Volume 1 by Alan Moore. Well, it's time to move on to Volume 2. Would Alan Moore's run continue to be as great as Volume 1 was? Stay tuned to find out and watch this video until the end. Alright, thank you for watching. My name is Taylor of Taylor Talks Comics. Today we are talking about Absolute Swamp Thing by Alan Moore Volume 2 with artwork by Steve Bissette, John Totleben, Rick Veitch, and Stan Walk. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm doing 31 days of horror comics all throughout the month. If you are into horror, you don't want to miss out on that. If you've missed out some of those videos, don't fret. I've got a playlist for you. Go to the playlist tab. All of the horror comics that I've showed off this month are there as well. And please like the video and comment down below. Those things help the YouTube algorithm put this video and my channel in front of the eyeballs of people that don't know my channel exists. All those things go a long way to help my channel move on and grow, and appreciate that. So today we're talking about Absolute Swamp Thing Volume 2 by Alan Moore. So in Volume 1, which I covered last Sunday, talked about the recoloring by Steve Oliff and whatnot, and Tatiana Wood's colors being changed and modernized. This one is Volume 2. Does the run continue to be as great as Volume 1 was? Well, before we do that, I'm going to go over the book design. The top is just black. The spine matches Volume 1 spine, which I can show you. And the artwork actually connects a little bit too, if you notice the background artwork there. And so far on my channel, I've shown off these three absolutes. So they look great together on the shelf. You have Lynn Wein and Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing, Alan Moore Volume 1, Alan Moore Volume 2. Volume 3, as you can imagine, will be shown off on my channel before the end of the month is over. And then on the back cover here, you have another great piece of Swamp Thing kind of growing to a cosmic proportions, of godlike proportions, as he surrounds Earth in this piece. We take the slipcase out, or take the book out of the slipcase, because this is the Absolute Edition, so it's going to come in a great slipcase. It has the same felty finish as the other two Absolutes I showed off. Very moss-like in this felt, kind of reminiscent of Swamp Thing. And just like the other two volumes I've shown off, it has this gold embellished lettering, and on the back a little bit of plant growth around the DC Black Label logo. It does come with a ribbon, which is great to bookmark your reading experience. I love that when DC Absolutes come with those. And then we get a great title page here, Absolute Swamp Thing, with all the credits involved. And like I said before, it does say original series coloring by Tatiana Wood, but this coloring in this book is by Steve Oliff and Ollie Optics. So you won't see Tatiana Wood's coloring in this book. In Volume 3, they do have some comparisons and an essay by Steve Oliff with his thought process. I'll talk about that when I get to that volume. Great table of contents here. And then we open it up. Starting off with this, all the covers in this series are absolutely fantastic, right? So we start off here with the Nuke Face Papers, which is a two-part story. This was actually one of the first aspects that Karen Berger, when she came on as editor, Karen Berger, who would eventually start Vertigo Comics. And Vertigo, Swamp Thing didn't carry the Vertigo Comics label until the Nancy Collins run. So after the Alan Moore run, you get the Rick Veitch run, and then I'm drawing a blank. Not Donald Moore, something or other. Let me know in the comments. I forget who does it, but they do like a 20-issue run, and then Nancy Collins takes over. And around that time is when they first put the Vertigo logo on the comics and it becomes an official imprint. But before that, Karen Berger was editing these comics, and she's editing this Swamp Thing run. So one of the first things she did to influence this run, which I love this is what the Nuke Face Papers are kind of referring to, is this guy with this grotesque face, was that she didn't want this two-issue run to follow directly after the run in the Volume 1 that we saw, because she thought it was just such a dour note to continue on with another dour note. So there's like the kind of the love story that finished volume 1 when I talked about Swamp Thing and the consummation of his relationship. So now they were able to do the Nuke Face papers. They had that story written. Karen Berger wasn't saying don't do it at all, but I just want you to hold off on it for a little bit. And on this page, I talked about the great panel layouts by Stephen Bissette on the previous volume, but I do want to show off this is an example with some really great lettering and mixed media, it looks like, by Steve Bissette. Steve Bissette has famously said that he hates the panel grid. He hates 9-panel grids, 6-panel grids kind of thing. So he wants to have like an open space with the pages. I love the title lettering there too. Really goes with the Nuke Face papers, newspapers kind of theme where you have like the ransom note where like all the different letters are different on there. Same thing here, down here on the title lettering of that issue. And John Tunnelben's on ink, so I'd be remiss if I did not express how important he was to Stephen Bissette's artwork. John Totleben and Steve Bissette are both graduates of the Joe Kubert School, along with Rick Veitch. They were all in the Kubert School at the same time, and they influence this run in such a big way. So Abby Cable is Swamp Thing's girlfriend. She's the one that I was talking about earlier, consummating the relationship. Like, just great horror artwork by Steve Bissette. So Steve Bissette, I talked about this on volume 1 as well, but Steve Bissette famously didn't like superheroes, or doesn't like superheroes, and he wanted to, he only wants to do like horror comics. The horror genre is his thing. So anytime there's superheroes that are appearing throughout here, he didn't care for it. He actually had Rick Veitch come in and draw some of those. Here is the debut of the John Constantine character, or Constantine is how Alan Moore pronounces it. So you see right away where the coloring has changed. If you are familiar with like the rainbow circle look on his face and his first appearance, you can see it's been affected here. But the Steve Olive does keep that kind of like 80s, kind of the, what is that, like the pop 80s, like purplish hues and stuff like that to it, which I don't hate. I prefer Tatiana Animal's original coloring, but Steve Olive is no slouch. He is one of the best colorists ever. He does a tremendous job on this thing. Steve Olive made his name doing the Akira colorizations for Marvel Epic back in the day. So he is no slouch. He does a great job of coloring. This is not bad coloring, it's just different. So I want to express that. Again, I preferred Tatiana Wood's original coloring. It had a more psychedelic look to it, but Steve Olive's coloring is not bad, per se. So John Constantine comes in, and he's kind of like this mysterious character, where he's like a detective, and is a cult detective. He's talking to Swamp Thing, doesn't tell him everything, just says, like, I need you in this city for this one thing, and constantly taking Swamp Thing on this trajectory, this journey, where Swamp Thing doesn't understand where he's going or why he's taking him here. He's getting frustrated as he goes on. Talking to Abby constantly about how he doesn't trust John Constantine. He thinks he's up to something, but he feels the need to constantly follow where he wants him to go. And it's really this great dramatic journey that he's going on. You see he's picking up by his lapels here and yelling at him. So it's like this back and forth of Swamp Thing trusting him, but then also getting frustrated with him, and going on and on. And that culminates in this run's how it's affected by the Crisis on Infinite Earths. So DC's big event in 1986 was the Crisis, or not 85, I guess is where it started, right? 85? Crisis on Infinite Earths, where the whole DC universe was being affected, and all the different Earths were interacting with each other, and then they're gonna all turn it to where the continuity was just one Earth. Well, how was Swamp Thing affected in that way? I will say, though, if that intimidates you because you're not familiar with Crisis on Infinite Earths, or you don't want to be bogged down by DC continuity, Alan Moore does a great job of, like, you don't need to know what's going on in Crisis on Infinite Earths. You don't need to be familiar with the continuity to read this and enjoy it. He does a good thing where it's like tied in just enough to where if you are familiar with that stuff, you'll get kind of a rewarding experience based on it. But if you're not familiar with it, it's not going to affect your reading, if that makes sense. Like they talk about the red skies and all that jazz that you're familiar with if you know what's going on in Crisis. But that's like what's going on with Swamp Thing on this cosmic scale with John Constantine. And then, Southern Carnage. I love just the splash pages too. Just really amazing stuff. Going back to the Bayou, in the Louisiana area, which is where Swamp Thing calls home, right, with Abby Cable. That's where he met her. And this volume does end with Abby Cable going to jail as Swamp Thing is going off into the another part of the country with Constantine to figure out what's going on. Abby is put in jail because she has a relationship with a creature. So they almost equate it to bestiality a little bit, with her being with this monster. So she's in trouble from that. That's where this volume kind of ends and where volume 3 picks up. This is an issue drawn by, I think Rick Veitch, right? Writer. Oh, no, Rick Veitch. Oh, Bissette, Randall, and Totleben are the artists. But I note that because Batman's in this issue. And I do want to know if Steve Bissette drew those. Because, again, he hated drawing superheroes of any kind. So I wonder if he had Rick Veitch come in uncredited and draw that. Because that did happen. Look at this great horror artwork, though. Like, this is the best horror comic of the big two ever. Like, this run is just absolutely amazing. It's called Sophisticated Suspense. Now we have Stan Walk and Alfredo Alcala. Alfredo Alcala is the inker that did a lot of the inks on Rick Veitch's issues where he drew him, and then in his run that follows this as well. Great title lettering here. It's kind of like Eisnerian in the way it's put as part of a piece of the art. Just great stuff. Can't recommend this run enough, though. If you've not read this run, you have to pick up all 3 volumes and just soak them up and just read them as a whole. Just go on a big Swamp Thing readathon, basically. You also get the debut of the Parliament of Trees, which is if you know Swamp Thing and his mythos, you know how important the Parliament of Trees is and how that affects him as a character. So that all debuts within this volume as well. So it really is a trilogy of books. Like, Volume 1 is such a great launching pad for the Alan Moore run. Volume 2 really starts to kind of expand the mythos of Swamp Thing in a big way. And then Volume 3 will kind of tie everything together. You get an appearance by Dr. Fate here. Phantom Stranger and Dead Man appear in here. In the Spectre, which is kind of like the trio of, like, DC horror, right? Phantom Stranger, Spectre, and Dead Man. The Demon, Jack Kirby's Demon, shows up in here. Really incredible stuff. Here's the anniversary issue number 50, which is a bigger issue. And it includes the horror hosts from House of Secrets and... I always forget the names. House of Secrets and... What's the other one? I don't want to say House of Horrors, but that's not right. But the 2 horror hosts there, and then that's like Alan Moore bringing them into the DC mythos as characters, because before they were just kind of horror hosts, and that's something that Neil Gaiman would do in Sandman later on. So that's the end of the comics. Here's all the back matter that's included. The original script and pencils of Swamp Thing number 40. I love reading Alan Moore scripts. They read like a conversation he's having with the artist throughout here, where he's explaining so much in detail of what he wants in the artwork, and then he kind of ends it with like, or just do whatever you want if you find a better idea. It looks so entrapping of like an artist and what kind of creative freedom they can have. But I swear, if you actually read them, you can see the freedom that allows the artists. There's not many. I don't know that there's many artists that complain about an Alan Moore script, or have complained about Alan Moore script. But now you're seeing like the thumbnails and pencils from Steve Bissette that go along with the script. So you can read the script and what he thumbnailed out, which is amazing as like a behind the scenes reading experience. I love this back matter. The back matter in all 3 volumes is really, really good stuff, and worth the price of admission alone, in my opinion. Then you get the Totleben papers. So Volume 1 had the long, like 10 plus page essay from Steve Bissette. This has essays by John Totleben, which is great. Not as long as Steve Bissette's, but still. These pieces here, where they're fully inked and penciled, really makes me want to read the black and white versions of these that they released in the DC Essentials. And then you get the character biographies, and that's it. So that is Volume 2. Look forward to Volume 3 coming out later this month. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. I'm on the road to 3,000 subscribers, and I need your help. You can subscribe and help me there. You can like this video, comment down below. Those things help the YouTube algorithm put this video in the front of the eyeballs of people that don't know my channel exists. Those all can help in a big way. and I appreciate it so much. And everybody, just keep talking comics.